It's odd when you have one injury, when you have two that have such a drastic effect on the match. And then Sinner looking like there was no way he was going to go through. And then all of a sudden, Dimitrov just goes down with the injury. Certainly rough. So
I didn't realize there's that many injuries in tennis.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's, certainly, you would understand, some of them, like on the grass too, because a lot of times, the footing will go out from under them. So I've heard of a lot of different leg injuries like that with the grass, whereas the hard court's a little surer footing. The clay is a bit slower of a game, so it's not as rough, and they learn to slide on the clay. So you don't have as many injuries. A lot of times where you go to, maybe think you've got solid footing and your leg slips out from under you and your trailing leg can buckle or whatever, you'll see ankle injuries like that, knee injuries like that. The pec muscle could go anywhere. I mean, that's just on a serve. I mean, that could have happened, playing at his local club or whatever, or in a major, But yeah, you could certainly have, and groin injuries make sense to me at Wimbledon too. Same thing. That foot goes out from under you that you're not expecting. It could be something.
Maybe it's time to go to pickleball. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. No doubt. Well, them and everybody else certainly involved in the pickleball. But, it's one of those things that, Wimbledon's still kind of the top tier. Although in tennis, I don't think any of them really stand out all that much. The Australian seems to drag behind. It's the PGA Championship, if you will, of the tennis world. But, Wimbledon, I think, probably would be the Masters, I guess, if you had to do it. The one that is very old, traditional, kind of stands out above the rest. The U.S. Open has a direct parlay there in terms of that. Now, it is at Flushing every year, which is kind of nice, whereas in golf, it bounces around. And then the Open Championship there is probably a little more prestigious overall than the French. But, if you're drawing parallels between golf and tennis, I don't think that's probably too far off. But anyway, I don't watch the tennis that I used to watch, back in the 80s and early 90s, when McEnroe was yelling at officials and Connors was throwing rackets and, this. It was more exciting to me. These guys are a little too robotic for me, but... And then you get, what's the guy's name who keeps getting in trouble? I can't remember his name now, but, it'll come to me during the break. There's a bad boy in tennis? Yeah, there's definitely a bad boy. I can't think of his name. And if any of you out there yelling at your radios right now, call in and let me know. But he gets in trouble quite a bit. But short of that, it just doesn't seem to be the personalities. They're great players. I mean, certainly going through the run with Federer and Nadal. Nadal had a little bit of flair to him. Djokovic was kind of more of that kind of Eastern European robot that we had a few of with, Ivan Lendl and Agassi, obviously, ton of energy and ton of attitude. Sampras was a little more, low key and all that. But the guys, when you had... Ilie Nastase and John McEnroe and Jimmy Connors and guys like that. It was just excitement all over the place. So I miss those days.
I mean, now that you bring that up, I realize I don't watch tennis as much anymore, and that's probably why.
It could be. I mean, there's more to do now. There's more to watch now. You have more avenues. Back in the, when I was growing up in the 3-channel days, that you kind of had to deal with what was on. But yeah, I do think that's part of it. And even on the women's side to an extent, although occasionally you'll get, the women's side has a few more flare-ups here and there where you will. Venus always seemed to be a good watch, as she was. Coco Gauff is a lot of fun to watch and is a lot of fun like that. Sabalenka will stick her foot in her mouth occasionally, and that can be a little bit fun. But I just think the men's side is kind of missing that, short of the guy whose name is escaping me right now, and that's going to kill me in the break. I'll find it out in the break, and I'll get it. But
I guess he's not that captivating, is he?
No, he's nuts. But he's not a tip-top player. I mean, he's good. He's competitive, but I don't believe he's won a major or anything like that. But I'll have to get to that. So you tennis coaches out there, I apologize in advance for not knowing this. But anyway, but those are just some headlines going around. We still have a lot to get into, some of your best and worst. We're going to talk a lot of baseball here, talk about the All-Star games. But up next, We're going around the track with R.J. Starcevich. You are listening to the Afternoon Underdogs on ESPN Northwest Florida.
Taking your hot takes, rants, and takedowns. Let's hear it on the Red 7T studio line. 850-215-6290. ESPN Northwest Florida.
The Atlanta Braves play here.
Can the Atlanta Braves make another second half run? Can history be duplicated?
Is this happening? It is! The Atlanta Braves are world champions!
This is why we played the game.
Grissom on the run! Yes!
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good afternoon. This is Joanna with your latest forecast on ESPN Northwest Florida. The remainder of the day, likely thunderstorms and mostly sunshine and a temperature of 86 with wind 10 to 15 miles per hour out of the southwest. Mostly clear skies tonight and quite warm near 80. A variety of mostly sunshine and a chance of thunderstorms and 87 tomorrow. 86 and some sun in the morning, but otherwise likely thunderstorms Wednesday. This is your Monday's weather brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for keeping that dial at ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
At Brock Lawn and Pest Control, we're proud to be awarded the distinction of being Quality Pro certified.
Our technicians have passed rigorous training in eco-friendly application and prevention of pest treatments.
Part of the program is the practice of integrated pest management.
IPM's goal is to prevent pests from ever entering your home. It includes inspection, prevention, education, and, when necessary, application.
We're proud to be Quality Pro certified.
Brock Lawn and Pest Control, the standard and level of trust.
Now, July is going to be a hot month weather-wise, y'all. But the deals on portable buildings at Best Way Portable Buildings will cool things down. Stop by and see owner Jason Mulder and let him help you choose just the right building for your needs. Best Way Portable Buildings is located just north of the Old Mall, Highway 231, Panama City, and online at bestwayportablebuildings.com. Best Way Portable Buildings, the best in portable, period. And a Golden Age builder.
You found us inside the CBC Construction Studios. From the diamond to the end zone, from the studio to the sideline, we're the destination for sports on the Gulf Coast. ESPN Northwest Florida. Now back to the Afternoon Underdogs.
And welcome back to the Afternoon Underdogs. Brian Haddad in the seat today on a Monday. And for those of you who were yelling and screaming at your radio, it came through loud and clear. Actually, thank you, Tim, for sending it in to me. Nick Kyrgios from Australia. He's the one. And I could see his face. I was blanking on his name. So you want to, read about a guy who keeps getting in trouble. He's actually exciting, but a little bad boy of tennis. So Nick Kyrgios is who I was looking for there. But now that that's over, let's get into a little bit of NASCAR. They weren't just turning left this weekend. They were going both ways there in downtown Chicago. And who better to talk about it with than our good buddy R.J. Starcevich, Motor Stardom. R.J., how we doing today on a Monday?
Doing good, man. This Monday has been great. Wonderful weather down here in downtown Chicago. We get one more day down here, so they're deconstructing the track already, but it was an awesome sunny weekend here in downtown Chicago.
Very good, very good. Well, if you're still down there, I guess not everyone's accounted for getting out yet, but it's always a good thing when everybody gets out of downtown Chicago safe and sound. So we'll talk about it kind of best and worst. It would seem like a pretty wild race and, maybe a result that's not all that shocking, but the way we got there, it was an interesting one.
Yeah, I'd say for the weekend, the only, it went smoother than any of the last two weekends have went. Mm-hmm. So I'd say maybe the worst part about the weekend was the heat. So a lot of the drivers' cool suits were failing, and it was a hot weekend. When you don't have rain, you have sun and you have heat in the summer. And so the drivers were feeling it, especially when you're on a road course. You are working so hard. It's not like just the normal ovals where, you are working very hard and it is very hot. But here you got 11 plus corners at road courses, and to where at ovals you have 4. But the best of the weekend is kind of related to that we finished in the dry. It was amazing. It was kind of poetic. We finished the race on Sunday. They took the checkered flag, started the burnouts, and then rain started to drop on the racetrack. And that would be the only time rain would fall onto the racetrack all weekend long. So that was awesome. Just right in time. They moved up the race about an hour and a half-ish this year. And it paid off, because if it would have ran, an hour later, we probably wouldn't have got that finish in, or at least would have had to delay it, or, a race in the rain. You never know with lightning as well, because we can race in the rain, but, they have their lightning calls as well. So I'd say the best, certainly, we finished in the dry. We actually got a full weekend not affected by rain here in downtown Chicago.
Very good, very good. Speaking of Chicago race, and, this may be a difficult question to answer, but there's been a lot of talk about it, overall for, a myriad of reasons. Do you think going forward this is a race that will stay on the NASCAR calendar, or what do you think the future of this Chicago street race is?
It's interesting, and I'm glad I've been here, because I've heard a lot of different things about it, really mostly the same. The window's still open for them to negotiate a deal. I heard the deadline is September to finalize whether this race would return on a, probably if they were to re-sign it, it would probably be a, 1 to 2 year deal. It's successful. The city really turns out. The people turn out. The people are very receptive of it. There were still people this year going for the first time, and there were people that have went all 3 years and have enjoyed it. So I think the city has certainly loved it. As far as, the people here, we can talk about what all the higher-ups and writers are saying and whatnot. That's a mixed bag. But the people here have really been having a good time. I enjoyed it. I think it was a great weekend. It's a great racetrack, too. I mean, it's a really dynamic. I've seen a lot of different street courses in my time of racing, but this one I think is just really, really fun, the way the track is. A lot of different elements. But what I have been hearing is San Diego is definitely a go for next year as far as the street course. Now, the goal of bringing the street course into NASCAR was, hey, we're going to bring the racing to you, right? We're not going to... we're going to have a race on the calendar where you don't come to us. You know what? We're just going to put it smack down in your city, and we're going to build it on your street so that we can bring NASCAR to you and show you what NASCAR is all about and hopefully bring you into the sport. So they will be going to San Diego. Now, I think the deal is going to be, I think NASCAR stays in Illinois. I think it will be in Chicago. Now, will it be in the Chicago Street Course, or will it be in Chicagoland Speedway? People in the garage seem to believe we're trending toward Chicagoland Speedway. But the reason they haven't finalized anything yet is just to see how this third race weekend at the street course goes and what happens. So I think ultimately they deem it a success, enough of a success to run it back again and have 2 street course races next year, because we will for sure be in San Diego. Do we do, San Diego and Chicago? We'll see, or do we go to Chicagoland Speedway? I would love to go back to Chicagoland Speedway, I will say. Wish we could have both, selfishly being here in Chicago. Sure. But, I think realistically my prediction is that they do San Diego and then they go to Chicagoland Speedway for next year, and maybe they come back here on the streets in a year or two.
Okay. Yeah, mixing around's not a bad thing. Remind me, Chicagoland, was that a mile and a half or was that a 2 mile?
Yep, mile and a half over in Joliet, which I'm not sure the minutes from here, but maybe like a half-hour drive from the city, if I'm not mistaken, half hour to an hour. So, just getting people to commute over there would certainly be the challenge.
And I never understood and look, I understand, NASCAR was built on ovals, and I get that, and a lot of American racing was oval, but I always thought NASCAR, as long as it was wide enough, I thought NASCAR played itself out beautifully for street racing, because those cars can handle the bumping and banging that makes, those multiple corners and turns exciting, whereas a lot of times the open wheel, F1 or Indy, whatever, you get, contact like that, you could be out of the race instantly. So I never understood the dislike, other than maybe it's not as traditional from, NASCAR as it relates to street races.
Yeah, I am surprised it took as long as it did for a street course to enter NASCAR. For the longest time, we only had 2 road courses, Watkins Glen and Sonoma, and now we have these road courses on the schedule. But adding a street course to the schedule, I think it really, because from a marketing perspective, like we've already talked about, right, we're bringing the race to you, but the racing is pretty cool. Like you said, the bumpy surfaces, I got to do the track walk on Friday. I got to walk the track and got to talk to some drivers that were rocking the track as well. And they're just talking about how cool it is, obviously, to be racing in the city, but how sketchy it can be. You're racing on like 10 plus different surfaces of asphalt that have been laid down over time. Because they're just regular streets that citizens drive on. So it adds an interesting dynamic. And, I would have loved to see the NASCAR Cup Series cars that we had, maybe even 10 years ago race on these street courses. The next gen's its own beast. But when you watch the Xfinity Series race on Saturday, who kind of still race like the old school stock cars that we know, it's crazy. It's unique, incredible racing, just like we saw last week at Atlanta. It's unique. It's something you're not going to see the rest of the year. Same thing here at Chicago. It's going to be something unique, and you're not going to see it the rest of the year until we go back to street course next year.
Give me a racer who probably came in not with very high expectations, but exceeded those expectations in Chicago.
Yeah, on the Cup side, I got to give a shout-out to Austin Hill, and I say on the Cup side because he's an Xfinity Series driver full-time, and he comes over to the Cup Series. And a lot of people have, when he first started, classified him as what they call a super speedway merchant because he was dominating all the super speedways. But he's really put himself in contention to be a really great road course driver in the Xfinity Series. And then he comes out in the Cup Series and finishes 9th. So shout-out to him, and a great run for him in that team.
And let's conversely, somebody who maybe came in with high expectations and had a disappointing finish.
I'd have to give that to Will Brown, unfortunately. Will Brown's a guy that runs Australian supercars. He raced with Shane Van Gisbergen. So he came over and had really good speed. Something about these supercars drivers being really fast, at least on these street courses, but road courses in these stock cars. And unfortunately, he got caught up in the Chicago roadblock that we had on the opening laps of the race. So that sucks for him and that team.
So speaking of Van Gisbergen, obviously taking the victory again in Chicago, and it's a lot of people are making a big deal out of this, like it's almost a fait accompli when you get to a race like this, that it's, he's going to win and it's not shocking. Let me ask it to you this way. Devil's advocate. Is the fact that he kind of owns this type of... And look, it's not new. I mean, we had road course specialists, Boris Said, I think Marcus Ambrose, guys that I remember from back when that were kind of, they may run a full schedule, but they would shine at the road courses and kind of be also-rans everywhere else. But Van Gisbergen obviously is going to get himself into the playoffs with all this, and, he's kind of to use an unfair phrase, a one-trick pony, if you will. Do you think that's bad, not maybe even just for the playoffs, that it looks like he's going to be in there, but, and this is a loaded question, but just for NASCAR in general and growing street racing in NASCAR, just the fact that one guy seems to own it?
Yeah, well, first of all, you say he owns Chicago.
Yeah.
We have run 6 races here, and he has won 4 of them across the Xfinity Series and the Cup Series. So I forget the name of the mayor, but you can just name it Shane Van Gisbergen this time of year. But, it's an interesting dynamic. I mean, me looking at it from just a race-by-race perspective, right, in the Cup Series, we have so much parity now. There's so many different winners every week. All the cars are built so much more equal now than they were before. You don't have those storylines where we went into races maybe, back then when people like Jimmy Johnson or Jeff Gordon was dominating, or Kyle Busch, Martin Truex Jr. were in their days of dominating races. You don't go into races anymore saying, okay, who is going to beat, Martin Truex Jr. at this racetrack? This is his wheelhouse. Who's going to beat him? If you were to think of Martin Truex Jr. at Richmond or something, or Dover, go back to thinking who's going to beat Jeff Gordon at XYZ racetrack. You don't have that anymore just because all the cars are so equal and there's no practice anymore. You don't really get to see who's dominant over the weekend. It's just a mixed bag. You just never know, and that can be good and bad. But I think it's refreshing to go into a race and just be like, all right, who's going to take SVG down?
Yes.
You know, who is going to be able to do it? And I think it's a fun story to follow, because when somebody ultimately does, you know, beat him at a road course this year, I don't think he'll win them all. Mm-hmm. But when somebody inevitably, you know, beats him at a road course this year, I think it's a much more cooler feeling for that driver. I think for the fans watching, they're shocked, you know, if go back in the Xfinity series when Kyle Busch was racing all the time, and when somebody else was able to beat Kyle Busch, you know, there was an uproar. People were like, finally, you know, we got somebody was able to take the beast down. So I think it's cool. I think it's a cool story still that this guy moved countries, came all the way from racing V8 supercars in Australia to come, you know, go full-time in the NASCAR Cup Series. He's getting better on the ovals. He's trending in the right direction. He did the same thing in the Xfinity Series last year, so now he's learning a totally different car. But, you know, they just played the system. You know, if we had a full series point standings or a chase, you know, would he have a full-time rider? Who knows?
Right.
But they're playing the system. You put SVG in a race car, and that's a guaranteed playoff spot. And also, what people don't understand as well, he's 29th in the full series standings, right?
Yeah.
By getting into the playoffs and having these playoff points, right now, he would end the regular season. Right now, he's the 5th seed. So you're going from 29th to 5th. You know how many millions of dollars that as well is gaining Trackhouse Racing at the end of the year? I think that's people don't think of as well. It's a no-brainer move to put him in that race car. But it is interesting because there's so much, you can go back and forth on it for hours, you know, whether it's good to have that format and good to have him win these races. But I think at the end of the day, I like having SVG in NASCAR. I think he's a cool dude, creates some awesome storylines, and making these guys really look at the road courses a little bit more. How can we beat SVG? That is literally what everyone's asking, and they're going to ask this week at Sonoma.
I think that's a great answer, because it was really clunky, I think, in the way I asked that, because I don't feel the same way, but there seems to be a lot of chatter out there about that. And the other thing that bothers me is when you get into the playoffs, it's not like it's straight ovals. I mean, there are road courses in the playoffs, I believe, in the first 2 rounds. Yeah. Is that correct? Yeah.
Yeah, road courses, super speedways. It's, you know, you get into the playoffs where, you know, he could certainly have a shot to advance, and playoff points as well. Every win is 5 playoff points. Every stage win is 1. If he puts himself, you know, 15, 20 points over these guys before he gets in the playoffs and has that cushion, he can easily coast through the first round, where then the second round has the Charlotte Roval right in his playhouse, and then you go to in the last round until the championship. We have Talladega in that round. You know, I don't agree with that. That's a bunch of BS. But we do have Talladega to help decide our Final Four for a champion, which is great. You know, nobody's talking about it now, but boy, when we get there, it's going to be a great time on Twitter. But yeah, he could like realistically get himself to the championship race. So it's anything's possible in our format today.
Talladega, the ultimate reshuffling of the pack, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be the championship race in about 7 years. Don't you wait. We're going to be at Daytona to crown a champion. I can't wait for that.
Speaking of Trackhouse Racing, it was announced, and they announced it as mutual consent. I don't know how many times that's accurate or not, but maybe it is in this case. Daniel Suarez will be out at Trackhouse Racing at the end of 2025. What can we talk about that?
Yeah, he is not going to be returning to the team. Honestly, the outcome that I kind of saw, we talk about SVG being 27th in points. Well, Daniel Suarez is 29th. Just has not had a great year, and he's had better years. I think this is the worst year he's probably had, but it's really only just been trending downhill. You know, Trackhouse in general hasn't been the A team that we kind of saw them as maybe a few years ago. They're kind of at an A-ish range, but when you're at that A-minus range, you need drivers that are going to be able to elevate you, like a Ross Chastain, who is, you know, top 10 in points right now and doing fantastic, has a win this year. Shane Van Gisbergen obviously able to drive that car to dominant road course wins, and Daniel Suarez just, it's not there. And I think also we have a NASCAR prospect pipeline right now that is really, really strong. And Trackhouse has Connor Zilic under contract, who is, you know, one of, if not the top NASCAR prospect right now over there, killing it for junior motorsports. So I think they knew it was time. Daniel Suarez, he'll land on his feet. He'll find somewhere, even if that's in the Xfinity Series full time. But they knew, the team I knew initiated it first. If they wanted him back, he would have returned. obviously now it's a situation where I'm sure they came to him and were like, hey, we don't think you're performing. Then he's like, well, screw you guys. You can't fire me because I quit.
Yeah.
That's the type of situation I feel like it probably was. But right move by Trackhouse as a team. We're going to get Connor Zilic in there, see what he's all about. And, the Cup Series, it's just what I always say is it is too competitive to let somebody, drive your car in a mediocre way, basically, is the nicest way I'll put it. Those drivers that are 30th on back in the standings right now, you got to look at them because very competitive series right now, and there's a lot of good prospects out there that could probably elevate your program.
Again, talking with R.J. Starcevich here, Motor Stardom. This may be a little bit soon to ask this question, but I'm just kind of curious. It's, NASCAR trying to jazz things up any way they can, which I think is the right move. But your thoughts so far on the in-season challenge, and are the drivers buying into it?
Yeah, I think they are. Once we get to the final stages here, I think they will most. They will more. I think this weekend really didn't hear much about it just because of what happened the first week.
Mm-hmm.
We started in Atlanta, which I thought was pretty stupid, to be quite frankly.
Yeah.
Because no brackets were remaining. Because, it's a cool thing to get the fans in tune with, too, right? Everybody made their brackets, and everybody was having fun with it. We'll see how long this lasts. And I'm looking at this thing like this damn thing isn't going to last a week. Like, we're starting out at a super speedway. Like, no matter, even if there wasn't a 20-car wreck in the middle of the race, I don't think anybody's bracket's surviving anyways. I mean, you can't logically predict it. So, I think they kind of dropped the ball with that to where now nobody really cares because nobody has a bracket. But we'll certainly these next 2 weeks when it's the Final Four and then the championship and the last race of the Brickyard 400, that's when it'll come back for us just to follow to see who wins. But as far as what they were wanting with the fan engagement and the teams being able to fight their battles, starting it with a super speedway was kind of a big buzzkill. So hopefully next year they don't do that. But, I'd love to see it come back next year. I think it's an interesting concept. But let's just not start at Atlanta next year. Let's start it at New Hampshire or something. Something I could logically go through my bracket and be like, okay, this person here, because I love to go through these workhorses and pick, but you know what, Coach, my bracket's dead. My bracket's rested, so I can't. So, I could just only pick in my brain. So, yeah, we'll start on a short track next year, and we can talk.
Well, we're getting close. 7 races left till the playoffs. Let's move out west. Going out west to Sonoma here next week. Definitely want your thoughts there. Give us maybe three drivers to look for in the races out west at Sonoma.
Yeah, it's Xfinity Cup Series go out west to Sonoma, another road course, so it's almost going to be like, I forget exactly what my 3 was from last week, but this is probably going to be almost bar for bar what I had. In the Xfinity Series, SVG is back, so he won last year at Sonoma in the Xfinity Series, so we're going to roll with SVG. I got Austin Hill, who did really well, finished 4th in the Xfinity race at Chicago, so I'll put him in there. Did well at Sonoma last year as well. And then Connor Zilic came up just short, got beat by SVG on a final restart, so I'll put him in my 3. And then on the Cup Series, SVG obviously in the 3. AJ Allmendinger showed some speed at Chicago, just ultimately strategy didn't quite work out for him. And then Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson is Sonoma's been kind of a Hendrick wheelhouse lately when we haven't had SVG. So we'll see. And I think that can Hendrick conquer SVG this weekend at Sonoma and return to glory? Because it was not a good weekend for Hendrick at Chicago. All 4 of their cars started from the rear. I didn't know if you know that, but that's what happened. They had such bad practices and qualifying incidents. They all started from the back, and neither of them could make it to the front either. So that's my 3.
Well, segueing into a guy that I wish would finish in the back, I do want to mention my buddy Joey Logano finished 11th. That's higher than I'd like, but outside the top 10, I'm still calling as a victory for me. So,
yeah, but he was pissed off. I don't know if you saw. He was pretty mad. Him and Ross Chastain came together and won. I got to see it in person. I was looking for Bo Wallace and Alex Bowman.
Oh, yeah.
But they seemed to settle things out. And then I look over and I see Joey Logano screaming at Ross Chastain. I'm like, I better go over there. So he was not happy. Basically, Ross Chastain got punted into 1. Not Joey Logano's fault because he got hit from behind, but Ross was just like, angry, driver's angry. They're going to hit the first thing they see. And he was like, well, 22 hit me. I'm going to hit him back. So he wiped out Joey Logano. Logano was not happy. But ultimately finished 11th, I think, for the crazy day that it was and for him to get smacked. I'm sure he can be glad that he finished 11th. Their highest finish in the last few weeks. He must have been talking a lot of 20s and 30s lately.
That's right.
On the show.
Mental note, buy a Ross Chastain hat. Got it. Okay. But anyway, RJ, always love talking with you about this stuff. Enjoy Chicago and, be safe getting out of there. But and we'll, hopefully talk to you again here next week.
Yes, sounds good. Talk to you next week. Just heard some sirens, so we'll make it out good though. I'll make it talk to you next week.
All right, that's RJ Starcevich, Motor Stardom. Check it out. He is absolutely the best around when it comes to talking about NASCAR. Great insights there from the track there at the street course in Chicago. Well, that was a great segment. We come back, we're going to go into Major League Baseball. Talk a little bit of All-Star Game coming up here soon, but go through scores over the weekend. And Cal Raleigh, good gracious. Number one, how many home runs is he going to hit this year? And number two, does he have the best nickname in sports? You'll find out when we come back. Afternoon Underdogs on ESPN Northwest Florida.
The Red 70s studio line is now open. 850-215-6290. Braves are back.
Here comes the throw. It's late. Braves win.
And ESPN Northwest Florida is your exclusive radio home for Braves country.
He just wrecked that thing. Straight away center, a homer for Riley.
Sales, Strider, Acuna, Ozzie, Riley, Profar, and Coach Snitker lead a stellar lineup. Listen live nights and weekends on ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good afternoon. This is Joanna with your latest forecast on ESPN Northwest Florida. The remainder of the day, likely thunderstorms and mostly sunshine and a temperature of 86 with wind 10 to 15 miles per hour out of the southwest. Mostly clear skies tonight and quite warm near 80. A variety of mostly sunshine and a chance of thunderstorms and 87 tomorrow. 86 and some sun in the morning, but otherwise likely thunderstorms Wednesday. This is your Monday's weather brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for keeping that dial at ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Los Rancheros has been doing it right for 20 years. Los Rancheros brings a top-shelf dining experience to you with the opening of their beautiful new building. Watch all college and pro games on Los Rancheros' 14 large-screen TVs with great drink specials daily from 2 to 5 and during all the games. Los Rancheros, the place for live sports and great food on 23rd Street between Jenks and Harrison.
Reliable Copy Products is proud to be the exclusive dealer in Northwest Florida for Kyocera office equipment. Reliable Copy Products has been committed to providing professional, personalized service for the last 35 years. They understand that the right equipment does not always fall within today's budget requirements, so they offer several options for the equipment you need today for the growth you expect tomorrow. Call James Mothers at 784-6601. 784-6601. Reliable Copy Products on Harrison Avenue, just north of Bay High School.
Now, we're live and local inside the CBC Construction Studios. Eat, sleep, game. This is your sports obsession. Now back to the Afternoon Underdogs. ESPN Northwest Florida.
And we are back in the CBC Construction Studios here in beautiful Panama City Beach, Florida. You are listening to the Afternoon Underdogs. Brian Haddad hosting this afternoon. And look, we're about 8 days away from the Major League Baseball All-Star Game at Truist Park. Unfortunately, the Braves are away from home for the next week or so before the All-Stars come back into town. But you can listen to the Atlanta Braves right here on ESPN Northwest Florida. Next game will be tomorrow. 7:50 p.m. we will pick up, and 9:05 first pitch, because we are out west playing the Athletics of Nowhere
Staying up past our bedtimes tomorrow night.
That's right. So the A's, who knows where they'll be? You have to tune in, here to listen to see where they'll be playing, because it seems like everywhere across the western states.
Don't they have a new stadium for Oakland this year?
Theoretically, there's so they're in a minor league park this year, and I think they go to Sacramento next year. I can't remember how the play is, but there's a lot of intrigue regarding their potential new home, which is supposed to be right where the old Tropicana Casino was, right there on the Strip in Vegas. And apparently there's a lot of worry over whether or not that they adequately budgeted enough money because of inflation and rising costs of things. And you know how these things go. I mean, we've seen it even here locally. You can say something's going to cost X, and almost invariably it costs double. So, there is a little bit of worry there that the owner won't necessarily dip into his personal, and he's only raised X amount, but whatever. We'll have to see. I mean, that still stands to be figured out. But I can tell you this, the drawings and where it is, I mean, I know that area in Vegas. I actually saw the cleared out area where the Tropicana used to be. It would be so cool to be right there, especially with the football stadium being at, the foot end of the, I can't remember north or south. I always get backwards in Vegas where that is, but it'd be toward that end of the Strip. So you'd have the football stadium and the baseball stadium, not all that terribly far from each other and right off the Vegas Strip. That'd be pretty cool. So
nice. Hoping
that works out, but also hoping the Braves sock it to them tomorrow night. Again, 7:50 tomorrow night. Coverage picks up with first pitch at 9:05 p.m. Scores from around Major League Baseball yesterday. My Yankees avoided the subway sweep to the Mets. They take it 6-4. Yankees now 49-41 on the season. Mets 52-39. Max Fried gets another victory, sitting at 11-2 on the season. So pretty cool there for the former Brave Max Fried. The O's take the Atlanta Braves for their final home game before the break. Baltimore 2-1 over the Bravos. Rogers gets the win. Holmes on the loss. The Red Sox beat the Nats 6-4. We also had the Phillies getting past the Reds. That'll make Caveman happy. Zach Wheeler getting his 9th win of the year, 3-1 over the Redlegs of Cincinnati. You have the Blue Jays, who have, I believe, won 8 in a row. They now sit atop the AL East by like 3 games. They got past the Angels 3-2. In that one, the Tigers, the best record in baseball, keep their winning ways going. 57-34 now in the season. Tigers get past the Guardians in Cleveland, 7-2. The Guardians have now lost 10 straight. MLB's worst losing streak going on there in Cleveland. They can't wait for the break just to break up that streak. The Brew Crew gets past the Marlins in Miami. Milwaukee 3, Miami 1. Brewers 3-hit the Marlins down there. The Rays get past the Twins 7-5 in Minnesota. Fairbanks on the win. Topa takes the L in that one. The Rockies get past the White Sox in the futility series, the 2 worst teams in baseball. Rockies now up to 21 wins on the season. Still 9 behind the White Sox, but a lot better than, I think, what were they, like 4-30 or whatever to start the season. So Rockies get past the White Sox there. The Astros hand a rare loss to the Dodgers out there at Chavez Ravine. The Stros 5, Dodgers 1. The Royals blank the Diamondbacks in Arizona 4-0. 3-hit effort there for the Royals pitching. And then we have a couple more games here. The Mariners blank the Pirates 1-0. Pirates once again giving their pitchers no run support. Cubbies put it on the Cardinals in a big-time old-school rivalry in National League Baseball. Cubs 11, Cardinals nothing. And then the Padres got past the Rangers 4-1, and the Giants took care of the A's 6-2. Now, looking at the All-Star, again, we're about 8 days away for the game there at Truist Park, but some news there. We have a lot of first-time All-Stars, but not as many as had been. We have 19 first-time All-Stars this year versus 32 last year, but a lot of the talk has been around a guy who's now going to be in his 11th All-Star game. Clayton Kershaw has been announced to be on the National League All-Star roster. Of course, he became, earlier in the season, I want to say it was the 4th left-handed pitcher to get 3,000 strikeouts in his career. But 11th All-Star, you know, a lot of people said it'd be cool if he got the nod, but I think Paul Skeens is going to get the start for the season he's had, certainly. But nice to see Kershaw on the roster. Looking at some of those first-timers, though. Yoshinobu Yamamoto is having a great season for the Dodgers. Washington Nationals outfielder James Wood, who's just tearing it up this year as well. And left-hander Mackenzie Gore, both from the Nats, are going to be making their first trip to the All-Star game. Astros ace Hunter Brown and shortstop Jeremy Pena, who was the hero of the World Series a few years back. And then 34-year-old left-hander Matthew Boyd for the Cubs, going to be making his first All-Star appearance. Now, those were all named All-Stars. Now, these were first-timers who were elected by the fans to start. And you have the A's shortstop Jacob Wilson, O's designated hitter Ryan O'Hearn, and then the Cubbies center fielder PCA Pete Crow Armstrong, and then not to be outdone, Mariners catcher Cal Raleigh, who is sitting now, I believe, at 35 home runs before the break. Let me pull it up here just to make sure he hadn't hit another one in the 5 minutes that I've... Yeah, he's sitting at 35 home runs before the break. Aaron Judge sitting right behind him at 33, and then Ohtani at 30. So you're Cal Raleigh. You're out there in Seattle playing for the Mariners after playing at Florida State. Thank you very much. And you're leading the major leagues in home runs over the 2 reigning major league most valuable players, Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani. And like I said, going into the break, I think Cal Raleigh has the best nickname in sports, the Big Dumper. So hard to beat there, but Cal Raleigh definitely deserving, certainly getting a lot of talk about MVP, although it'd be hard to deny Aaron Judge what he's done as well. 33 home runs, 74 RBIs, and batting .360 on the year. You know, we always talk about kind of snubs and all like that. I think Seiya Suzuki probably has a bit of a gripe. He's leading Major League Baseball in RBIs with 77, but you know, I think overall they generally got it right. I do like that the fans still have a vote because it is a fans game, you know, but they're able to rectify that somewhat with being able to allow, you know, people to get added to the roster. I didn't like when they went to every team has to have a representative. I mean, I think there are some teams that don't deserve them. You know, but I mean, look, there have been plenty of good players on bad teams. I mean, Andre Dawson famously won the MVP for the Cubs when they were in last place. But if you don't have anybody that deserves it just to get put on because your team doesn't have one, I never, ever agreed with. Real quickly, standings. The Blue Jays sit atop the AL East, 3 games ahead of the Yanks and Rays. The Tigers, 13.5 games up in the NL Central. What a season they have had. The Astros now ahead by 7 in the American League West over the Mariners. Then over in the National League, Caveman's Phillies are sitting 1.5 games up on the Mets with 53 wins. The Cubbies lead the Central by 4 over the Brewers. Fairly competitive division there. And then out west, the Dodgers are 7 games ahead of the Padres and Giants, sitting on 56 wins. Raleigh, again, leads Major League Baseball with 35 home runs. Aaron Judge leads Major League Baseball in batting average at .360. And then Seiya Suzuki, of course, leading with RBIs at 77. We talked earlier, Max Fried took his Major League leading total to 11 wins. Skubal and Valdez sitting right behind at 10. ERA, it's Hunter Brown at 1.82 ahead of Paul Skeens at 1.94. And then, well, I don't have saves in front of me, so we'll just have to do that one another time. But great season. Major League Baseball has given us this first half of the year, and we've still got several games here before we get to that all-star break there at Truist Park. Well, Bone Crusher, what do you say we hit to another break here? There's the music. He's playing me off stage, folks. When we come back, we're going to talk to our good buddy Steve Barnes from the rebelwalk.com. And Lord knows, if you've listened to the show on Monday, there's no telling where we're going to go. So make sure you stay tuned. You are listening to the Afternoon Underdogs, ESPN, Northwest Florida.
Killing the game. Call or text us now on the Red 7T studio line. 850-215-6290. Have you ever wanted to reach out and smack someone?
Sit your ass down and shut up!
Call or text the Afternoon Underdogs on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida with your rants, hot takes, picks, and takedowns.
This is unacceptable at the University of Alabama!
This could go 7 games. You've got to have a bad game at some point.
The Red 7T studio line, 850-215-6290. ESPN Northwest Florida. Get in the game.
This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida with your Monday's weather. Tonight there will be a light breeze out of the west-southwest, mostly clear skies and 80. Mostly sunshine tomorrow morning, about the same at 87. In the afternoon and evening, possible thunderstorms and some sun and a high of 88. About the same at 87 Wednesday, and we'll have some sun in the morning followed by possible thunderstorms. This forecast is brought to you by Ellis Agency Insurance. Thank you for keeping that dial at ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Tired of boring merch and want your brand to stand out like the big names? Elevate your look with Red 7 Tees. They don't just print shirts, they create bold identities. They are a veteran-owned custom apparel shop providing the kind of detail that turns heads, using high-quality digital printing and embroidery to give you that unique style you love with no minimums or cookie-cutter designs. From small business to sports teams, if you've got a vision, they'll help you wear it proudly. Visit red7tees.com.
WPLQ Port St. Joe, WGSX Lehman, powered by Panama City Toyota.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Sizzling hot weather is here. Time to go shopping in some nice air-conditioned surroundings. I know just the place, that boot store. Ooh, it's nice and cool in here with a scent of real leather. Sweet. The Western surroundings and huge name brand selections will make you want to buy 4 or 5 outfits for the whole family, from the smallest to the largest. And why not? Their prices are the best in the area. Open Tuesday through Friday, 9 to 5. Friday and Saturday, 9 to 5:30. Remember, God is good all the time. That boot store next to Billboard Kia, 15th Street, Panama City.
You found us inside the CBC Construction Studios. Are you thirsty?
Oh, yeah, baby.
The Afternoon Underdogs.
Hello.
Oh, hello. Call or text now.
Hello.
850-215-6290.
Is anyone there?
ESPN Northwest Florida.
And welcome back into the Afternoon Underdogs here. Coming to you from a hot and steamy Bay County. But hey, it's summer in Florida. What do I expect when I come down here? So, but you guys make sure now, look, you don't know what to watch on TV. You want some options. How about Scorpion TV? Only 5,000. That's all, Bone Crusher. Only 5,000 live streaming channels here, including ESPN, ESPN Plus, the NFL Network, Red Zone, even pay-per-view events can be found right there at Scorpion TV. Look, cut the cord, not the fun. To score Scorpion TV, just go to ESPNPC.com, click on the Scorpion TV logo, and you can be watching basically everything that's ever been
Literally,
broadcast.
I was watching Filipino basketball last week, and when the Pacquiao fight happens, I'm going to come up here and watch it.
I love it. I love it. Well, what a great segue in, because we never know where this segment's going to go either. My buddy, our favorite, Steve Barnes from the rebelwalk.com. Steve, how are we doing on this fine Monday afternoon?
Well, to quote Joe Walsh, I can't complain, but sometimes I still do.
I love it. I love it.
But I tell you what, before we get to the best and worst,
Yeah,
I'm going
yeah.
to give you my very best of the weekend.
Let's do it.
Finally heard from old Miss Evie yesterday.
Okay.
Who lives out in Texas.
Yep.
Safe and sound.
Good.
Semi-dry. But then I found out she's about 3 hours from where the flood was over in Kerr County.
Mm-hmm.
She's south of College Station on the way to Houston. And apparently Kerr Ventura County is just northwest of San Antonio.
Okay. Wow.
But 3 hours. I mean, come on. You grew up in Mobile.
Yeah.
You know how hurricanes are?
That's right. I mean, that's 3 hours from us. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember in '69, Camille hit.
That's right.
And that was my first one. I was 5. And I thought it was kind of cool because everybody came over to our house. We set up, sleeping bags in the hallway. The adults were playing cards. We got to play Monopoly and stuff like that. And you could eat peanuts and popcorn, and it was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Then, like 1980, then 1980, Frederick came.
That was my first one. That was my first one that I remember. Yeah.
Well, my house, we had 3 huge pecan trees in the backyard. And then, next day comes and I walk out in the backyard. We got 2. And one had been literally sucked out of the ground and thrown over our fence and didn't touch the fence. And I thought, okay, well, maybe these things are not good. So anytime, any kind of storms anywhere near anybody,
yes,
I worry.
Oh, yeah. I know a lot of people certainly can relate, down here with Michael. And, like I said, I remember Frederick. I remember we had to park way down the street because all the oak trees were down, in Mobile. It's just oak tree city. And, but the dads had fun with their chainsaws and the moms had to figure out what we're going to do without power and water. And it was a whole community effort back then. But crazy. All right. Well, best and worst beyond and that is the very best, that Ole Miss Evie is safe and, like you said, somewhat dry. But best and worst of the weekend.
Found out the other day, it's only 54 days until Ole Miss plays Georgia State in the opener.
There you go.
But better than that, we only have 47 days until college football kicks off.
I know. It's getting close.
And that first, I guess they're calling it week 0 now.
Ugh.
I'm not sure what they're calling it, but
yeah,
it's got to be. I think, isn't Kansas a sunflower state? I think they are.
That's an excellent question. Which one's the prairie state?
Oh, that cannot be. That's got to be like Wyoming or something.
I don't know. It's one of them.
Anyway, in 47 days, both K-State and Kansas play. K-State's going to be in Ireland, playing Iowa State, which is a good thing because I've been to Manhattan, Kansas for a game. You'd rather be somewhere else. And there's another good one that day. Stanford's going to be at Hawaii, and the odd thing to me, that's in prime time, our time, which means what? It's like 3 a.m. their time?
I was going to say, that's going to be real early.
I kind of like that. Also that day, Idaho State plays at UNLV, and that's Dan Mullen's debut for the Rebels.
That's right.
That would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
A really some smaller college games, and Carnap Word, where Cam Ward started off, they're playing at Nichols. That's not going to be bad.
Yeah.
North Carolina Central and Southern play in the HBCU kickoff. And don't be shocked if they play the last game in the Heritage Bowl, because they're both really good. And my favorite, UC Davis is going to play Mercer in Montgomery at Crampton Bowl.
Yeah.
And that's my favorite. A lady I went to high school with, Shannon Weems, well, now she's Shannon Anderson. She's a professor at Davis, and I used to live just down the road from Mercer in Macon. But the thing is, they're going to play in Montgomery, and the person who started that game was my old boss at Troy, Johnny Williams. We lost him about a month and a half ago. I want to see how they honor him. That's going to be really, really cool.
Yeah.
But, I mean, just the first time you hear the pads pop where somebody's not at a scrimmage, they're hitting somebody with a different uniform on, that's always cool to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I can't wait. I mean, the anticipation for football season's just, I always said that the greatest 4 words in the English language were pitchers and catchers report, but the anticipation isn't the same, even for opening day of baseball. The opening weekend of college football is like nothing else to me. So I'm starting to get a little giddy, and you fired me up even more here, so I'm ready to go.
Well, something I used to love, working in sports information, the freshmen would arrive a week early and start their workouts. And they would get so cocky, like, yeah. Then the rest of the team showed up, and you'd see them get in their little corner really quick.
Yeah.
Get very humble. And that was really, really cool because there'd be one or two guys, that freshman class, who are like, oh, I'm going to compete against them? No big deal. And it's like, oh, God, I can't wait to see what they're going to do.
All right, what's your worst of the weekend then?
What's going on at Texas Tech? I just don't get it. Well, they gave Nigeria Kennedy, the softball pitcher, $1 million. And that was worth it to me because she got into the World Series.
Oh, God, yeah.
But now they're going to pay Felix Ojo all this money. He's not even going to be there yet. He's going to be a high school senior. Now, I've seen two figures. Well, it's a 3-year deal, and this is for revenue sharing. It's not NIL. It's revenue sharing.
Right.
I've seen two figures. One was 3 years for $2.3 million. That came from a report. It might have been from On3. I'm not sure. Well, that means as of July 1st, he's going to make $775,000 yearly. He's 17.
Jeez.
When I was 17, I was making $335 an hour, getting like $120 a week, and I thought I was rich.
I never forget when minimum wage went to $4.15, I think it was, an hour, and jumping up and down. Thought I'm rich now. Yeah, same thing.
Yeah, there you go.
Crazy.
But the other figure I saw came from his agent. And let me say that again. The 17-year-old has an agent.
Unreal.
And that's $5.1 million over 3 years, and it's guaranteed.
Yeah.
And the agent said they took that deal from Texas Tech because it's guaranteed for 3 years. Utah only offered 2 years. Texas, Ohio State, Michigan, and Florida only offered 1. This kid, what happens if he gets hurt his first game of his senior year in high school?
Yeah.
Texas Tech, you're going to pay this kid millions and millions of dollars to do nothing for you.
Yeah.
And I thought it was odd that, this new rule took over on July 1st. That's Bobby Bonilla Day.
I didn't even think of that. That is perfect.
So, I mean, on July 1st, he got a check for basically $1.2 million from the Mets.
Well, and let me throw this little bit in there that bothers me even more about this. I agree with you. I thought, softball was worth every penny, and they probably underpaid on that for what they got. But they can give this kid all this money, having, a year away, never, set foot on there, but they can't pay out Mike Leach money they rightfully owe him or the family. That still bothers me. The whole way that thing shook out at Texas Tech, and, as far as I know, that lawsuit never got settled.
Well, to me, it's called the Gobnet. The good old boy network.
Sure.
And out in West Texas, where that money is, Texas Tech's the only school out there. So, I mean, the guys at UT up in Austin and over Houston and, everywhere else, SMU, Baylor, they got to fight over East Texas and Central Texas. Well, guess what? Texas Tech has it all to themselves. So, I mean, that's really kind of cool. And back to the Bobby Bo thing, he gets the $1.2 million. And by the way, that runs through 2035. So he gets it for another 10 years.
That's unbelievable.
But he gets a tip, by the way. I don't know if we have the no tax on tips going on yet, but on July 1st every year until 2028, he gets $500,000 from the Orioles. How would you love your job to be to go to the mailbox on July 1st every year and say, hello, check?
I think everybody in the world should just hire Bobby Bonilla as their investment advisor. I mean, that's the greatest deal in the history of sports.
I saw a great thing when he was working out that deal. His agent worked out a deal with the Mets. It was Steve Phillips at the time who was GM. And I think Steve Phillips is great, but this might have been his faux pas of his career.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
He figured out if we defer all these payments, we can take the money we save and we can invest it, make 8% interest, then we're going to make money off of his salary. They invested with Bernie Madoff.
Were they at the top or the bottom of that pyramid?
They were in the cellar. Because they're still paying this guy $1.2 million for 10 more years.
Oh,
and when's the last time he took a swing? Like 2003?
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
I mean, that's how his agent is not being hired by everybody. I don't know.
Exactly. It's the greatest deal in sports. I'm telling you, it's crazy.
Yeah, but cool.
Yeah. But
Okay.
but your line about this hitting right on Bobby Bonilla Day is just one of those priceless coincidences that is perfect.
Well, I mean, people say July 1st. We're getting close to July 4th. I'm like, no, it's Bobby Bonilla Day, man.
Oh, I love it.
I mean, I only met the guy one time, and he was with the Mets, and he was a jerk. But I just, great, good for you, man.
Hey.
If I could make that much money being a jerk, I'd put that on my tax form as under occupation. I'm a jerk.
Ain't gotta like him to respect him.
Exactly. It's like when I was in the military, somebody showed me a Mark Twain quote, respect your country, always respect your government when they deserve it.
Yeah. That's right.
All right, my cool.
Okay.
Have you ever seen the baseball movie Little Big League? Where the kid manager for the Twins?
Yes. I had to think about it there for a second. Yes.
Now,
it's been a while.
I worked in pro baseball with the Padres organization. I worked in, all that stuff.
That's right.
So there's not a lot of baseball movies I like because I go, oh, man, that's not how it is. And my friends will be there with me say, oh, shut up. It's entertainment. Well, I did like this one. This was cute. The little kid, he inherits the Minnesota Twins and the Metrodome, and he makes himself manager. It's really cool. The lady who played his mom was Ashley Crowe. Little redhead. She was really, really pretty. She's been in a lot of TV shows since then. So she's the mother of a baseball prodigy who manages the Twins in the movie. In real life, she is the mother of Pete Crow Armstrong.
You're
of
kidding.
the Cubs.
I had no idea.
That's his mom, and if she's not at the All-Star game and they don't put lots of cameras on her, the network is carrying it is stupid. I mean, that's a great story to me.
That I had no idea. That's fantastic.
And I mean, that movie came out in '94, I think.
Yeah, wow.
So the kid, I don't think he wasn't born yet.
Oh, he couldn't have been. I wouldn't think.
And I mean, now here it is. This year he's hitting 272, got 20 doubles, 4 triples, and 23 homers. I think this lady should be a GM somewhere. She knows how to pick ball players.
I guess it only would have been perfect if he'd have been on the Twins instead of the Cubs, but hey.
Well, at least he wouldn't have to play in the Metrodome.
Well, fair enough.
That hole. And I'm not kidding. I covered a football game and a baseball game there the same day. And when they imploded that thing, if they had a an auction to hit the plunger, I would have paid everything I had just to blow that thing up.
I still haven't forgiven them for all those stupid towels and beating the Braves in '91, but still the best World Series I've ever seen. But
yeah, but the thing is, I took the chance to walk around the place, I went behind the hefty bag, as Chris Burmese call it. If you're sitting there, unless you're in the very front row and leaning over, you can't see the outfield.
Wow.
All you see is second baseman. They were the worst seats, and it's just, oh, good Lord. I'm from Pensacola. We know humidity. Getting that thing with a few 10,000 people, wow.
Awful. Crazy, crazy, crazy.
And the weird one, this was not a sports one, but my roommate Mandy's birthday is the 2nd of July, which was last week. Then I found out the 2nd of July is the exact midpoint of the year. That means on the 3rd, want to feel old? On the 3rd of July last week, we are closer to the year 2050 than we are to the year 2000.
Oh, wow. I hadn't even thought about it like that.
5 new gray hairs.
I would be thrilled if I see 2050.
Right?
Yeah, I think the chances of me seeing 2050 are like, oh, I don't know.
Of course, to be fair, there's a lot of people who lost bets on me making it to 50 years old. So. But anyway.
Well, every year on my birthday, I'll put out a message on Facebook. It's like, yeah, I hit this, I hit 60, I hit 61.
Yeah.
Who lost bets this year?
That's it. Say, no, really, I did. So let me throw something at you real quick here. So Saturdays Down South has been doing every school their Mount Rushmore of quarterbacks. Everybody loves the Mount Rushmore thing. So they have, the top 4 quarterbacks, according to them, based on this. And they're about halfway through the SEC. But they did get Ole Miss in, and I think the most recent was Mississippi State. So I wanted to throw the Ole Miss one at you and see what you thought. Now, there's 2 given, Archie and Eli. Yeah, absolutely. Outside of that, before I get into who Saturdays Down South had, let me put you on the spot. Who do you think would be your next 2 if you had to pick?
I want to throw Jackson Dart in there. I really do.
And they have him, so that's good. So we're 3 for 3. This one's a little tougher.
I'm guessing who they'll put in and who would I put in.
Okay.
I think they put in, guys got bunch of numbers. Great passing numbers. So somebody like Corral.
Okay.
I would put in, I'd go back in the 60s when they were winning national championships. I'd go Jake Gibbs.
That's why you're the man, Steve. 4 for 4.
Or Charlie Connerly.
Yeah. I thought they would go Connerly, but Gibbs makes more sense just based on, 1960, obviously. But yeah, they had Jake Gibbs as they had him 3rd, actually, and Jackson Dart 4th.
He was really cool, too, because when I was at Ole Miss, he was a baseball coach.
Wow. How about that?
So I got to hang out with him a little bit, and, he's like, well, aren't you playing? I'm like, you see these guys out there? Yeah, it's like, I ain't that good. He just laughed and say, but you can hang around. Thanks, Coach.
Outstanding.
Who are the state ones? I mean, Dak's on there, I know.
Well, the state
Rocky
one,
Felker?
unfortunately, is a lot of recency bias, which you would understand. Dak's on there, certainly. Nick Fitzgerald, which to me, that makes sense because he had, SEC numbers for, whatever. I get that one. Will Rogers, obviously under Leach's system, put up crazy numbers. And then John Bond, I guess, makes sense from Mississippi State. That would be.
Yeah, I remember watching him play when I was there.
I think you could make an argument for Wayne Madkin at some point in there, maybe, or some of those guys from some of Cheryl's great teams in the late 90s, but
I don't think people realize how big Madkin was.
Oh, he's a big guy. I had to interview him a couple times. Yeah,
he was a tight end playing quarterback. He was Derek Ramsey at Kentucky. After Derek Ramsey was at Kentucky and became a tight end with the Raiders.
Yeah.
So Madkin was a big man.
Yeah.
I did a story many years ago about how the SEC does not produce great pro quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried to name the best pro quarterback from each school. And I mean, sometimes I had to go way back.
Oh, yeah.
Like for Kentucky. Okay, you couldn't say Tim Couch because he didn't do anything with Cleveland, really. You can't go with a hefty lefty. I had to go all the way back to the 50s when Bryant was there and go with George Blanda.
Yeah. Crazy.
Now, this was before Dak was there. So at State, I think I went Rocky Felker.
Yeah. Yeah, I hadn't thought to go
South
that far.
Carolina, at South Carolina, it was, Tannehill didn't do anything.
Right.
And neither did Garcia. I had to go with Dan Reeves, who became a running back in the NFL.
Yep.
And the one I got the most blowback from was the LSU fans, because they're like, well, Jamarcus this, Jamarcus that. No, your best ever that got in the NFL was Burt Jones.
Yes, 100% agree there. Until Burrow, but yeah.
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 Well, this is,
That's right.
I think Joe was in like the 4th grade when I wrote this story. But I should have picked him anyway because who knew? But he had to go to Ohio State first, so that sort of disqualifies him.
That's right. That's the way of the world now. Well, Steve,
and actually, Florida was the other one. I mean, you had Spurrier, didn't do anything. Werfel didn't do anything.
I was going to say, in a weird way, Grossman at least got to a Super Bowl.
That's the one I had to pick.
Yeah.
Him over Matthews.
Crazy.
Shane Matthews.
And Shane played like 15 years, but yeah, he was always a backup. So, yeah, crazy.
That's the second best job to Bobby Bonilla.
Perfect. Well, Steve, always enjoy talking with you here on Mondays, and always never know where it's going to go, but it's always an entertaining ride. Had a great time, and we'll talk at you again next time.
All right. Love y'all like fried chicken.
All right. That's the great Steve Barnes, the rebelwalk.com. Make sure you check out his stuff. Always entertaining. Always a great read. We come back. It's going to be time for that PCB Hobby Takeover. The captain's on the road, but we got Mr. Bill in the studio. Stay with us right here on ESPN Northwest Florida.
Reach out and smack someone. Call or text now. 850-215-6290. The Red 17 studio line. It's the PCB Hobby Takeover with Todd. Mondays at 5:20 on ESPN Northwest Florida.
That is a very high-end card and very rare.
Todd talks about coins, trading cards, collectibles, and the amazing stories behind them.
It was the first one that's ever come through my door.
Plus, we'll be taking your calls and questions at 850-215-6290. The PCB Hobby Takeover.
A platform for you to do your hobby.
Mondays at 5:20 on the Sports Talk Monster. ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida with your Monday's weather. Tonight there will be a light breeze out of the west-southwest, mostly clear skies and 80. Mostly sunshine tomorrow morning, about the same at 87. In the afternoon and evening, possible thunderstorms and some sun and a high of 88. About the same at 87 Wednesday, and we'll have some sun in the morning followed by possible thunderstorms. This forecast is brought to you by Ellis Agency Insurance. Thank you for keeping that dial at ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
When it comes to building smart and roofing right, TK Vandy's is the name you can trust. They're your go-to for general contracting, design build solutions, and top quality roofing. From concept to completion, they deliver excellence on time and on budget. Whether it's a custom build or a complex renovation, they've got you covered, literally. Call TK Vandy today and build something better together. TK Vandy, built with purpose, roofed with pride.
CBC Construction is looking for a few good men. At CBC Construction, our greatest strength lies within our talented team. Join us and be a part of a dynamic company that values its people. We offer a tremendous opportunity to create a future for your family and the Florida Panhandle. CBC Construction is now hiring. Call us at 850-740-3815 or visit cbcconstruction.com to learn more. CBC Construction, be part of a winning team.
Now, we're live and local inside the CBC Construction Studios. They said it couldn't be done. The Afternoon Underdogs are live.
They say it can't be done.
Are we going to do what they say can't be done?
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Oh, a little groovy going on here. A little funkadelic. I like it. There we go. You listen to the Afternoon Underdogs here on ESPN Northwest Florida. Brian Haddad in the big chair today and joined for the PCB Hobby Takeover, not by the captain this time.
No.
But by the, well, no, you're in the Navy. I can't say general. We'll go admiral.
Yeah, we call it whatever you want.
Yeah, there we go. Bill Shriver's joining us here. Bill, how we doing?
Brian. How's it going, guys?
Yeah, good deal. So, it's summer. I mean, there's always a lot going on down at PCB Hobby, but in the summertime, that just ramps up to the nth degree. So I know we just came off a Kids Trade Day, but got a lot coming this week and this weekend. And, let's just kind of talk about different stuff.
I think everybody who lives in Bay County is experiencing the full effect. July 1st, I think, we talk about spring break, and spring break gets busy and stuff. And then we get that little bit of a pop, at the beginning, and then it goes into the lull of June. Mm-hmm. And then July slowly rolls in until that first week, and then that everything just hits. And I think this last week, I think the load of people in town quadrupled.
Yeah.
And so we're feeling the full effects at the shop of that. But we've anticipated this. This is our, a couple years we've been doing this now, so it's not new to us. And so we've taken full advantage of that, and we fully have stuff stocked. So we really worked hard this year to make sure that when summer fully hit at the shop, we were loaded with products. And so the shelves look really good right now, even after having such a massive weekend that we had and week. So we're really excited about that. So.
Absolutely. You were talking about the 4th. I was joking. A friend of mine had called, and I said, "Hey, are you in Panama City Beach right now?" And he's like, "No." I said, "Oh, you're the one."
The one person who's not here.
Yeah, that's the way it felt. So, but yeah, shop's been, just and a blast. I mean, really neat people. I mean, a lot of locals still coming in, but a lot of people from all over. I mean, we had people in today from Kentucky, from Indiana, from Georgia, from South Carolina.
I love the I love the stories where somebody comes in and is like, "Oh, you remember I met you last year and you helped us do this," and I just love being able to connect with people like that and bring that kind of stuff back to the shop every year, and so their kids are coming with them and they're teaching their kids, and so as their kids grow up, they're going to continue coming back to the beach because it's what the family does, right? So Panama City Beach is such a great family destination. So.
Well, for those who were just in for the 4th, they're going to miss out because got a big event this Saturday down at the shop. It's Super Saturday.
Super Saturday. So once a month we do this. We bring it out the spinning wheel. And so everything that's sealed product. So if it's on the shelf and it's sealed product, it's 10% off. So that's the first thing. So it's a huge discount. We don't just do it during the summer when tourists are here. We do it during the winter time when the locals just want to come out from hibernation, right? And then if you spend over $75 during that time, you get to spin the wheel.
Yeah.
And the wheel is fun. Everybody loves spinning the wheel. I love spinning the wheel. And we have some really good prizes on the wheel, and you can just about make your money back on the wheel. So if you like going to Biloxi, you'll definitely want to come in Super Saturday.
Yeah, there you go. Well, one of those products to look forward to, with that 10% off on Super Saturday is, how about Topps Chrome UFC?
Yeah, so some exciting stuff. I had a chance to go to Atlanta this year and see a lot of the forecasts of products that are coming out. They showcase what things look like, and I'm telling you, some of the product coming out this year is absolutely the best stuff that Topps has ever put out. Even if you're not a big UFC fan, Topps Chrome UFC is a beautiful product. It's amazing. It's going to come out, I think it's Friday. I believe it's 7/12 is when it, or 7/11 is when it drops. So yeah, 7/11 on Friday. So it drops on Friday. It'll be just in time for the weekend. So if you can't get out on Friday, come in on Saturday or Sunday, and we'll definitely have a bunch in stock. Also this week, Bundesliga comes out, so it's the Chrome. And again, another beautiful Chrome product coming out this summer, so super
that's
excited about
German soccer league.
German soccer league.
Like that.
Yep.
But there's some big names who, like Harry Kane from England has gone over there, and a lot of the guys who have become big stars, Jude Bellingham started there. A lot of the American guys have actually gone through. Erling Haaland started in the Bundesliga.
It's a great proving ground for a lot of the Premier and for the MLS.
100%. And the UFC Chrome hobby has been out, but for a lot of people that may be outside their range, but you're right, value boxes and mega boxes will be out Friday. Perfect timing.
Yeah.
And they're doing another buyback program.
Yeah, so Topps, if you guys are not familiar with the buyback program, Topps started it where you could, if you hit certain things, and so this one's going to be tied to the UFC Championship, and so the winner of the UFC Championship, that card becomes part of the buyback. And so it's kind of a cool thing because you don't know until you know, right? So
that's right.
It makes it really kind of neat, but you can if you hit the cards, you can bring them into the shop, and we actually pay cash or credit, and we buy those cards back. Those cards are then sent off to Topps. We don't keep them. We don't resell them back out. We send them off to Topps. They are claimed through the Topps, and then they're going to be redistributed from other products in the future.
Yeah.
So it makes even better hits down the road for stuff, and it's every variation of the card, basically. Everything from base all the way through the superfractors is part of that.
Well, and that's the thing that's been so fun because they've done it in baseball. This will be the second time they've done it in UFC. They did it in WWE.
Yeah, we just had the WWE just closed out July 4th.
But, you take like a base card that's, a lot of people collect them, but maybe it's only worth $1, at most. That turns into $20 store credit.
Yeah, it makes a really huge buyback on a base card like that really doesn't have any other value itself. Right. But Topps has created that market inside of itself. So very cool.
No, very cool indeed. Absolutely right. So, but yeah, UFC going. We've got a lot of new products in. Got a lot of singles in, just buying over the counter, and the sports crew and Josh and Ethan just went out to Dallas.
Fantastic trip at the Dallas
Third
Dallas
consecutive card show weekend, by the way.
Yeah, third time. Yeah, this team is on the road a lot.
I crapped out at 2. I couldn't do 3.
It's a
young man's game, Bill.
It's a grind. So Fanatics Fest, amazing.
Yes.
Fanatics. I can't even express how amazing that was. It is the new national. Period. I mean, hands down, it's the new national. Nobody's going to be able to top what Fanatics is putting into that. Dallas Card Show. If you've never been to Dallas Card Show, it is a bi-monthly show. Every 2 months, it happens in Dallas, Texas. And it is one of the best Mid-South United States shows in period, hands down.
Yeah.
And we are lucky enough to have a booth there and be able to set up tables and be there because it's very hard to get into it. And we buy and sell a lot of stuff there. And so we have different markets things that are maybe not as good of a market for us here, we can take there and trade them out with other dealers and get better cars to bring back to market to people that really want to get stuff in the Southeast.
Yeah.
And we were really successful at that this last trip. The guys have boxes and oodles and boxes of slabs, of sealed product. They picked up all sorts of stuff. So super excited to see this stuff start rolling out over the next few days. And it translates everything from sports to Pokemon. So everything in between.
Well, 2 weeks ago, a lot of people came in and bought up the singles we picked up in New York. Yep. Last week, people bought up the singles we picked up over in Daphne. And later this week, I should have some new stuff from Dallas.
As quick as we can, we'll get them to the shop.
So make sure you check that out. And then what we've got something going on with Hit Parade now?
Yeah, so Hit Parade has started putting out some pretty top shelf products. And if you're not familiar with what they do, they do a lot of stuff for breakers, online breakers. And it's usually collectible type stuff. So baseball, signed baseballs, autographed helmets, jerseys of all sports, football, baseball, basketball. We have connected with them and partnered up, and we're actually doing a PCB Hobby Breaker exclusive with them. And so we wanted to try it out and see how it was going to work out. So we did a 30-box case breaker set with them, and it's going to be, even though we're in the full swing of baseball right now, and everybody's got probably baseball in their mind, and we're really kind of ramping up towards football. And so we're starting to load up some product in the shop for football season, which is a blink of an eye from now, till it really starts kicking off. So our first rollout of this is actually going to be some NFL football jerseys. It's a 30-box break. It'll be in the shop. It'll be online. We'll do both of them. They'll be exclusive for us. It's not some massive checklist that's out there. It's a small list of stuff, and we'll have that list at the store. But that's something new that we're going to try with them and see how that goes. So it's all authentic jerseys. They're not replicas. They're all it's all top shelf stuff. So we're super excited. It kind of goes along with some of our expansion of some of the, especially in the sports area. We recently, we've been a wholesaler for Zion cases for a long time. We've had cases come in, come out, we just loaded up on a bunch of XLs and a bunch of X, and it's the 2-row and the 3-row boxes. And if you've never seen a Zion case for your slabs, there is not a box that's much better than Zion.
It's the absolute best. And Atlanta Braves fans, we are the home for the Atlanta Braves. We have Braves logoed Zion cases.
Yeah, we branded with those, and Zion and the MLB branded on a bunch of different teams, and we picked up a bunch of the Braves ones. And so if you're looking for Atlanta Braves, you want to kind of put your mark on your Zion case, we have some of those Atlanta Brave ones that are just amazing looking.
So I want to pivot slightly, we could go on. There's so much going on. We could go on this for a while. When Todd's in here, obviously we get to go into a lot of coin stuff.
He is the master of coins. Speaking of which, just to kind of shout on that, Todd is not here today because they are actually in Orlando for what we call the July Fun Show.
Yeah.
And so that is the coin show that's happening in Orlando right now this weekend at the convention center. So it's twice a year. The big one is in January. This is what they call the Little Fun Show, but it's still a huge show.
So check that out, because on the stream, I'm sure they're probably streaming from there.
They will definitely
imagine.
be. Yeah, Todd and Devin will definitely be streaming this week, and they will have all kinds of crazy stuff that they're picking up at the show. So.
Outstanding.
Sorry, go ahead with your question.
No, I was going to say, so let's pivot over to what's kind of become your love here, your passion, which is the comics. And I know... we always talk about, PCB Hobby has exclusive covers and this, that, and the other, and these great deals with artists and all like that. When you think of sports, you think about getting the athletes to come in and do autograph signings and all like that. It's about the athletes. Well, the stars in comics are the artists.
Oh, absolutely.
And so we just had an artist in
we just had one of the top I would say right now, probably like modern day comic artist. He's probably in the top 25, hands down.
Wow.
His name is Tyler Kirkham. And he was down here July 1st, I want to say June 30th. So it was last Monday. It was last week. It was a week ago, as a matter of fact. Yeah. And he came to the shop and he came to our headquarters and did in our artist studio. We call it the Artist Spotlight Studio. And he did a session, and it was amazing. It was about a 6-hour stream, and he drew a lot of stuff for people. So the cool thing with these is that we do covers a lot of times with different artists, and we get a chance to see their work. But when these guys come on to the streams that we do, they sit there and you get to see the camera. You get to watch their hands move. You get to watch what they do. And, sometimes I think it's just like, I call it putting just paper to, pencil to paper. And just watching them do that is amazing because I can't do anything close to that. I mean, I can draw stick figures, and that's about as good as I'm ever going to be. And these guys can take a look at a picture and just instantly just draw and make it look like it's, photorealistic almost. And the ability to do that with any kind of subject matter is crazy because they'll take requests from customers on the stream, and they'll say, hey, you have a blank sketch cover, which is just a title on a book, basically. And it could be a Batman #1 or something, right? And they'll say, hey, draw me Batman and Catwoman, or draw me Black Cat on this cover, or draw this on this cover, or Joker or something. And these guys they'll just from memory, they'll just draw these characters to perfect ratio. I mean, it's like, I couldn't get everything to fit on the page like that. I couldn't draw anything, like I said, better than a stick figure. I'm good at Hangman, that's about it. But they're amazing to watch because when they have a finished product, it looks like it was a cover that was published and sold, for millions of copies.
And it's literally, suggested to them seconds before or minutes before. I've watched a few of those too, and comics wasn't so much my thing coming up, but I'm certainly aware of them and all like that. Kind of to your point of what you were talking about, their ability to take what you tell them. What's even more impressive to me is I would have to be in hyper-focus mode to do that. They're sitting there carrying on a conversation with the stream and with the chat while they're doing it.
It's very interactive. Yeah,
and of course, you have the visual on the stream. You can watch them doing it.
You have the camera. You got the face cameras on. You got the hand shot. And they'll sit there and they'll have a monitor that they can see everything that everybody's typing in the chat to them. And they'll just sit there and talk. I mean, and they don't lose any kind of, thought process or any focus, like you said, on what it is they're doing, and it's amazing to watch them work.
I guess it's like anything else, the best of the best, in the world who are at things. We don't understand them because we're not, what they have. So
we try to bring an artist in once a month.
Yeah.
That's kind of our goal, is to bring somebody in the house once a month, give them somebody that we haven't seen before, and and we keep getting bigger names and stuff coming in. And then we have some of the folks that we really like working with, which we'll bring those guys back and forth and stuff a couple times too. Sajad Shaw is an example. He's a good, great artist, a good friend of ours, and we bring him into town whenever we can, and have him come and draw and do stuff. And the stream loves him. But we're going to continue doing this. We go to the conventions and go to the shows. We do mini sessions with the stream. It's fun, but you only get an hour or two with the artist. When we do these sessions, we can go 6, 7, 8 hours and really gotta have some fun.
Yeah.
So,
and I think what's so great, comics, we do it a ton on our streams. We've got a lot of comics in the shop as well. I think a lot of people forget we carry a lot of comics in the shop as well. But you can have, we've talked about before, people maybe buy 2 copies of a comic, but one to read, one to put away. So you can have your old comics that are in a high grade. You get the new ones graded or just boarded and like that. But there is this extra thing in comics of, variant cover or artist autographed. Oh my goodness.
It takes it to another level.
Yeah.
And it's, you're right. And some people, it's kind of touchy, right? It's like grading cards or not grading cards, right? It's some people are opposed to ever having something put in plastic. And then other people feel that protects the card and has the value, which I kind of lean towards that side of it. Same thing with comics. There's people that say that no, every book should be raw and not put in plastic. You can't read it that way. And I'm like, the expensive stuff, I want it in plastic because I want it preserved. I want it to know that that's the condition that it's in.
Yeah.
Then the next level of that is if you get that artist, it could be the person who did the art for the cover. It could be the person who did the art for the inside of the book, because they're typically two different people. It could be a writer or a creator, somebody who did the story that was actually used that then turned that in to the actual art. And so you have creators, you have interior panelists, you have, and then on the covers it gets even more technical because you have the people who did the pencils, and then those are turned into inks. And then, which are just nothing more than black lines with shading. And then you have the colorist, which are people that actually apply the color. And very rarely is it the same person who does all three of those jobs. And so building a comic book is a very technical process that goes through that. And I don't think a lot of people maybe necessarily understand that. But and then think about that. There's three people on a cover. So, you have all three of them. And so the value and the time it takes to get those signatures definitely adds value to the overall book cost and stuff. So,
we'll definitely have to get you back in and talk more about this, because comics is a fascinating world of collecting. I mean, it really is. I mean, everything's got its own, uniqueness, but comics just has so many different ways that you can go about it. It's just fascinating to me. And as someone who wasn't really a comic book reader growing up, I'm just fascinated by it. But real quick, before we kind of wrap back up, I did want to put this back out there sports-wise, because we get giddy around time of Bowman release, and there's one more.
Yeah.
Topps Chrome Baseball. We can almost see the finish line here, Bill.
It's coming soon.
July 23rd. Yeah. Hobby, Jumbo, Breakers, and Blasters all hit the streets.
There's only so many products that, there's a lot of products that come out that I like, but I love, like a Bowman Chrome, a Topps Chrome. This is one of my favorite releases of the year. It's one of the best products that Topps puts out. It is definitely high class, high quality every single time it comes out. And so I'm super excited for this one.
Yeah, it's going to be great. So can I hit us back? We got Super Saturday this Saturday. Got gameplay this week. What all is going on at PCB Hobby this week?
Yeah, don't forget we have Thursday nights at the shop is always Lurkana. So the organized play is strong. Even in the summertime with people going on vacations, we still have a great community that comes out and play. Friday nights is Magic, The Gathering. They're doing Commander every Friday nights. Saturday is kind of open play, but with the Super Saturday, don't forget this, come in, spend $75 or more, get to spin that wheel, have a blast on that. And then Sunday has turned into our Pokemon Day at the shop, and it's becoming very, very, very popular. We're getting a lot of people coming on Sundays for Pokemon, so super excited about that.
Always something going on down there at PCB Hobby.
It's busy.
Yeah, check them out on eBay Live or down at the shop at 11939 Panama City Beach Parkway, right next to Florida Linen.
That's it.
Bill, thanks for joining us again. Definitely have to get you back in, because I've got to pick your brain more on the comic stuff. So
I appreciate it. Thanks so much.
We'll do it. All right, that's your PCB Hobby Takeover with Bill today. When we get back, and do a little best and worst of the weekend, and who knows what else. You got to stick around to find out. You're listening to the Afternoon Underdogs on ESPN Northwest Florida.
Text him now on the Red 7T studio line. 850-215-6290. Keep the game going with ESPN Northwest Florida. Just because you get out of the car doesn't mean the Sports Talk and Live play-by-play have to end. Just say, hey Alexa, open ESPN Northwest Florida. From Michigan Avenue to the man cave, from the car to the kitchen, we've got you covered. Keep the game going. Hey Alexa, open ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida with your Monday's weather. Tonight there will be a light breeze out of the west-southwest, mostly clear skies and 80. Mostly sunshine tomorrow morning, about the same at 87. In the afternoon and evening, possible thunderstorms and some sun and a high of 88. About the same at 87 Wednesday, and we'll have some sun in the morning followed by possible thunderstorms. This forecast is brought to you by Ellis Agency Insurance. Thank you for keeping that dial at ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
When it comes to building smart and roofing right, TK Vandy's is the name you can trust. They're your go-to for general contracting, design, build solutions, and top quality roofing. From concept to completion, they deliver excellence on time and on budget. Whether it's a custom build or a complex renovation, they've got you covered, literally. Call TK Vandy today and build something better together. TK Vandy, built with purpose, roofed with pride.
Get ready to discover new adventures this summer and hit the road in a new Kia from Bill Bird Kia. Our SUV family is built for all-in adventures and endless possibilities. Stop by Bill Bird Kia today and test drive a new 2025 Kia Soul, Seltos, Sportage, Sorento, or Telluride. You'll find the perfect balance with comfort, safety, and technology. Now offering 1.9% APR up to 60 months on the purchase of a new 2025 Kia Sorento during the Kia Summer Sticker Sales Event. Bill Bird Kia is the home of that 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty. See us today at 2435 East 15th Street or anytime at BillBirdKiaPanamaCity.com. Enjoy the view this summer because the road is yours in a new Kia from Bill Bird Kia.
Offer from Kia Finance America for the purchase of a new 2025 Kia Sorento with $1,748 per $1,000 financed in 60 months. Qualities limited. Cannot be combined with other finance offers. The 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty is the Bill Bird Kia warranty. See dealer for complete details. Offer for well-qualified buyers. Must take delivery from dealer stock through 7725.
Transmitting from the CBC Construction Studio. Doing what other stations can't. The Afternoon Underdogs is live and local. 850-215-6290.
When you've completed dialing, listen for the ringing signal.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
And back at you from the CBC Construction Studios here in Panama City Beach, Florida. You are listening to the Afternoon Underdogs, and we are your home for the Atlanta Braves. Braves off tonight, but then we will pick up coverage tomorrow as they begin a 3-game set against the Athletics of, who knows, California, of Oakland, of Las Vegas, of nowhere, we call them. But first pitch will be at 9:05 p.m. with coverage starting at 7:50. So make sure you stay up late and listen to the Braves right here on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. Also, last segment here, would love to hear from you on the Red 7T studio line. If you'd like to give us a call, 215-6290. That is 215-6290. Headline that just came across the wire here, and this, has some interest for us. We've done some partnership deals with the Orlando Magic. I know sent people down for games a couple of times, and it's been a blast. Orlando Magic have signed Paolo Banchero to a 5-year, $239 million rookie contract extension that could reach up to $287 million.
And that makes Bobby Bonilla sound poor.
I think I could live on that, even in Orlando. That's what, 3 trips to Disney nowadays? But,
nice.
But anyway, so Paolo Banchero, certainly one of the young stars of the league, but pretty cool that the Orlando Magic have locked him up. The deal does have a player option for Banchero in 2030, 2031, but pretty good deal to lock up a good star of the future there, building around what's a pretty good core there for the Magic. So definite team of the future. So, and good money for Mr. Banchero. Well, let's get into one other thing here that I saw ESPN put up, and they do this all the time, their top 10 running backs in the NFL list. And I'm going to start, before I get into the top 10, I do want to go through honorable mentions, then we'll go 10 to 1. But this year on the honorable mention list, they have Bucky Irving, second-year running back out of for the Bucks. Aaron Jones Sr. for the Vikings. Devon Achane for the Dolphins, who's had some injury worries, but really solid player. Breece Hall for the Jets, who had a injury early on. I know a lot of people thought he was going to be a fantasy superstar, and then, of course, he remembered he was on the Jets. And so struggled a little bit, but certainly a lot of talent there. And then James Conner, who was on my fantasy team, actually did really well for the Arizona Cardinals. So I could probably make a mention. He might be in the top 10. But let's go to ESPN's top 10 running backs list for this upcoming season. And at number 10, we have Alvin Kamara for the New Orleans Saints. The highest he's ever been ranked on this list has been 7th. Last year, he was an honorable mention. 29 years old, which is actually a theme you're going to see a lot across this list. Everybody always talked about running backs are 2-3-year guys, and then they're disposable. I don't think that's going to hold true. The best of the best are in their late 20s, even some into their early 30s. So Alvin Kamara at number 10. I got no issue with that. At number 9, Joe Mixon for the Houston Texans. Last year, he was also an honorable mention. The highest he's ever been ranked is 5th. And Joe Mixon is 28 years old. Had a really good season last year for the Texans. At number 8, James Cook for the Buffalo Bills. Highest ranking he has ever held on ESPN's list is 4th, and is another one of those who last year was an honorable mention. So a lot of guys improving their rankings here. Now, James Cook is only 25 years old, so he has a little more gas left in the tank, if you will. At number 7, 26-year-old Jonathan Taylor of the Indianapolis Colts. Last year, he sat at number 5, so he slipped a little bit. The highest he's ever been ranked in this list is number 2. So I know they're going to be counting on him a lot, as the Colts are still trying to determine exactly what their quarterback situation is going to look like. Anthony Richardson, I would say, is the presumed starter, but they did bring in Daniel Jones, and who knows how that's going to play out. But they're definitely going to have to rely on him. He is also the first back since Adrian Peterson to produce 6,000 rushing yards and 50 rushing touchdowns through his first 5 NFL seasons. At number 6, Bama fans, Josh Jacobs, now of the Green Bay Packers, 27 years old. His highest ranking ever on this list was 3rd. Last year, he was at number 7, so stepping up 1 spot. I loved the move when the Packers picked him up, because I think everybody thought he was going to the Cowboys for the longest time, but pretty cool there. Josh Jacobs in at 7. Top 5. I'm going to start off with a guy who had a rough season last year with injuries and just with a team that underachieved. Christian McCaffrey of the San Francisco 49ers. Last year was ranked number 1. This year sits at number 5. So Christian McCaffrey hoping to have a good bounce back season, as well as the Niners, even though they've moved out a lot of their weapons. At number 4, I think the youngest one on this list, I believe, well, tied for youngest, that's Bijan Robinson for the Atlanta Falcons. Came out of the University of Texas. I like it.
Dirty Birds.
He was ranked 6th in last year's ranking, had a great, college run, and then a little spotty rookie year, but kind of picked it up again this past year. Bijan Robinson, very, very talented, and looking forward to a good year. They've kind of retooled a little bit there in Atlanta. Looks like they're into the Michael Penix era, even though Cousins still on the roster. But they have a lot of weapons, and that does open things up when you have receivers who stretch the field and things like that. It does open up your run game. So looking forward to big things from Bijan. At number 3, the other 23-year-old superstar, Roll Tide, Jahmyr Gibbs for the Detroit Lions. Last year was ranked in at number 8, but I'm telling you, he is a dynamic super speedster, and another team has just got weapons all over the field, speed all over the field. Helped lead Detroit to a 15-2 regular season last year. Let's see. So this is an interesting one. They call him Sonic, but he led the NFL in scrimmage scores. The last Lion to do that, Barry Sanders. Pretty good company to keep there. All right, and the top 2, a little more represent the older guard, or somewhat older. At number 2, Derrick Henry, the ageless wonder for the Baltimore Ravens now after my Titans let him go.
How old is he?
Derrick is only 31 in terms of age, but it seems like he's been around forever because running backs don't usually have careers into their 30s. Last year was ranked number 9, had a fantastic season his first outing with the Ravens. Shows he's still got it, and looking forward to trying to get the Ravens over that hump. They're kind of right off of that, winning the AFC and moving forward. Like a lot of teams, the Chiefs are in the way. But Derrick Henry sits in at number 2 at 31 years old. And then, not surprisingly, top of the list, Saquon Barkley, after just a phenomenal season with the Eagles, 4th in last year's ranking, definite number 1 this year. I got no qualms with that. 28 years old for Saquon. So there you go. Real quick, my best and worst of the weekend. My best, Lane Kiffin continues to be one of the greatest trolls on Twitter, sports or not. And make sure you check out his shots at Hugh Freeze. I think he had a lot of fun with that. My worst is a story. Angel Reese is complaining about the officiating in the WNBA. I cannot find a league that is trying to sabotage itself more than the WNBA. They can't get out of their own way. Things are going good. Viewership's up. Attendance is up. There's interest in the league. People like me who have championed it. I'm starting to get sick of all the whining and complaining. Look, Angel Reese, you want to complain about something in the NBA? How about the fact that you miss 40 shots a game? Fix that first, and I'll listen to your complaints about the refs. That's me jumping off of my high horse for the day. Bone Crusher, as always, thanks for your help.
You got it.
I've been Brian Haddad. Check out Coach Hale tomorrow morning. You've been listening to the Afternoon Underdogs, ESPN, Northwest Florida.
It's the PCB Hobby Takeover with Todd. Mondays at 5:20 on ESPN Northwest Florida.
That is a very high-end card and very rare.
Todd talks about coins, trading cards, collectibles, and the amazing stories behind them.
It was the first one that's ever come through my door.
Plus, we'll be taking your calls and questions at 850-215-6290. The PCB Hobby Takeover.
A platform for you to do your hobby.
Mondays at 5:20 on the Sports Talk Monster. ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida with your Monday's weather. Tonight, there will be a light breeze out of the west-southwest, mostly clear skies and 80. Mostly sunshine tomorrow morning, about the same at 87. In the afternoon and evening, possible thunderstorms and some sun and a high of 88. About the same at 87 Wednesday, and we'll have some sun in the morning followed by possible thunderstorms. This forecast is brought to you by Ellis Agency Insurance. Thank you for keeping that dial at ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
With over 65 years of combined experience, Instant Replay Sports Cards is happy to help you take your collection to the next level. They carry all the new hobby boxes, signed memorabilia, and supplies. New and vintage cards and Pokemon. They sell and trade cards and are always looking to buy. They're an authorized source for Topps, Panini, Upper Deck, and Leaf cards. Instant Replay Sports Cards is open 7 days a week at 752 West 23rd Street, down from Academy Sports. It can always be